The cargo ship Gray Lantern moved slowly through deep space. It was a large, old human ship that carried supplies and small goods from one system to another. Captain Bren stood near the front window of the bridge. He was a strong man with short, black hair and a scar on his left cheek. He didn't talk much, but always kept his eyes open. The crew of Gray Lantern was small, just 6 people. They were not soldiers, just space workers trying to make a living. Daryl was the engineer. Tough and always covered in grease, Lena handled the maps and routes. Bim cooked and also kept things clean. The rest helped with small tasks. They all respected Bren. He had saved them more than once. This trip was supposed to be easy. They were passing near the edge of the Galdor Belt, a quiet area filled with broken rocks and old space junk. But then the ship's scanner beeped. "Captain," said Lena, "there's something strange ahead. Looks like a cryopod, floating." Alone? Bren raised an eyebrow. A cryopod was used to keep people frozen for long travel. But why was one floating here? He nodded. "Bring it in carefully. Darrow, prep the bay. We might have a guest." They pulled the small pod into the ship. It was covered in dirt and had cracks on the glass, but the inside looked safe. The pod's screen showed that life signs were still active. Someone was alive inside. The crew gathered around as the pod opened with a slow hiss. Inside was a young girl. She looked around 17 years old. Her skin had a soft green shade, and her dark hair was tied back. Strange markings ran along her arms and neck, glowing a little in the light. She looked peaceful. "She doesn't look human," Bim whispered. Bren leaned forward. "She's close enough, and she's alive. Let's not jump to anything." The girl didn't wake up. Her eyes were closed. They moved her to a resting room and connected her to the ship's med system. It scanned her and gave odd results. Her body was alive and strong, but there were strange codes in the machine's report. Something was different. "She has something inside her," Darrow said. "Not a weapon, not a bomb. It's more like a part of her body, some kind of tech." Bren didn't reply. He just watched the girl as she slept. She didn't look dangerous. She looked like someone who needed help. Later that evening, Bren sat in the ship's dining area. He had a plate of food and some fruit slices. The girl was still resting, but he had brought a small piece of fruit with him, just in case she woke up. He looked at the slice and laughed to himself. "If you wake up, maybe you want a bite," he said playfully and held out the fruit. At that moment, the girl's eyes opened. They were deep silver, shining like small stars. She looked at Bren, then at the fruit, and slowly reached out. She took the bite gently and chewed. A soft hum filled the room. The lights flickered for a second. The ship made a small sound, like a sigh. Bren blinked. "Well, that was fast." The girl didn't speak. She gave a small nod and closed her eyes again. But now, the ship felt warmer, more calm. The systems stopped their usual quiet clicks. Everything seemed smoother. Darrow noticed it first. "Captain, the engine core just balanced itself. I didn't do anything. It fixed the power line on its own." Lena added, "Navigation changed. We're now flying 1 degree off route. It's still safe, just different." Bren stood up. "What do you mean it changed? I didn't do it. The system did it by itself." Bren walked back to the med room. The girl was still resting, but now the machine next to her was showing a soft pulse. Her energy, whatever it was flowing into the ship. Over the next few hours, strange things continued. Doors opened before the crew touched them. Lights adjusted to their needs. The food machine served perfect meals without being told. Even the coffee tasted better. Lena laughed. "Maybe she's lucky for us." Bren wasn't sure. He didn't feel fear, but something was happening. This wasn't normal. Still, the girl hadn't harmed anyone. She hadn't even spoken a word. But the ship was already changing around her. At night, Bren stayed near the med room. The girl's name was still unknown. Her pod had no ID. Her clothes were simple, smooth, and had symbols no one could read. He looked at her and whispered, "Who are you, really?" The girl opened her eyes again and smiled. Her voice was soft. "Miri, Then she closed her eyes once more. Bren felt a small chill. This girl, Mary, had come from nowhere. But now she was part of his ship, and something told him this was only the beginning. Mary stayed quiet for most of the next day. She sat near the back of the ship's common room, watching the crew go about their duties. Her face was calm, but her silver eyes followed every movement. She didn't ask questions. She didn't speak, unless spoken to. But she listened. She watched. She remembered. Bren stood near the entrance, arms crossed. He had let her move freely through the ship. She hadn't done anything wrong. Still, something in the air felt different since she arrived. The crew had started acting strange. Darrow, the ship's chief mechanic, was known for being grumpy. He didn't like anyone touching his machines. But today, he let Mary walk with him into the engine room. He didn't even complain when she pointed at a broken cable near the cooling panel. "How did you know about that?" he asked, surprised. Miri only smiled. "I could hear it humming wrong." Darrow scratched his head. "It's been acting up for weeks. You heard it on your first walk through?" She nodded once. That same morning, Lena was adjusting the ship's travel course. Suddenly, Mary leaned over her shoulder and touched a key on the console. The screen blinked twice, and then the system locked in a safer path. Lena frowned. "I didn't plan that route, but it's faster and fuel use is lower." She looked at Mary. "You read the map?" Mary shook her head. "I felt where it should go." No one argued with her. At first, Bren thought these moments were just chance. The girl was smart, maybe trained in ship systems. Maybe her creators had built her with some kind of learning skill. But it was more than that. The gray lantern itself seemed to like her. The lights now brightened when she entered a room and dimmed when she left. The ship's temperature stayed perfectly warm in her presence. The AI voice, which usually answered with a cold tone, became softer around her. "Captain," Bim said one afternoon, "the food printer gave me your favorite dish before I even chose anything." "I didn't ask for anything yet," said Darrow, holding a perfect cup of strong coffee. Bren felt uneasy. The ship doesn't do that on its own. He went to the control center and checked the system logs. Commands were running without input. The AI was active more than usual. But the strange thing was it wasn't just the AI. The ship's core processor was running a second thread, hidden and smooth. Not forced, not hacked. It was like the ship was thinking for itself, or thinking with someone else. He looked at Mary's file again. The med scanner still showed those glowing patterns under her skin. Biotech. Living systems. Maybe she had linked with the ship somehow. Miri walked into the bridge. Her steps were soft, but her presence was strong. She stood next to Bren and looked out at the stars. "Do you like it here?" he asked. She gave a small smile. "It feels like home. You've only been here for a day. It only takes a moment to feel welcome." Bren didn't know what to say. He had seen strange things in his years as a captain, but this girl was different. She wasn't dangerous. In fact, she was helpful, kind, but she was becoming more than a passenger. He decided to test something. Crew meeting in the hold. He announced over the ship's speakers. When everyone gathered, Bren stood on the small platform they used for announcements. Mary stood quietly near the back. "I want to talk about our guest," Bren began. "She's done a lot in just one day. Repairs, course corrections. She's even helping the food printer guess what we want. That's not normal. So here's my question. Do we trust her?" No one spoke for a second. Then Darrow raised his hand. "She fixed my engine. That's good enough for me." Lena nodded. "She improved our route. We're saving fuel and time." Bim smiled. "She helped me clean the kitchen faster than ever." Bren looked at them all. "So, you're saying she's part of the crew now?" "She already is," said Darrow. Everyone turned to Mary. She didn't look proud or smug. She looked unsure. "I don't want to take anything from anyone," she said. "I only want to help." Bren stepped down from the platform. He walked up to her and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then help us," he said. "But I'm still the captain." Mary nodded. "Yes, captain." The rest of the day moved quickly. The crew worked better than ever. Every system was smooth. No one argued. There was no noise except the hum of the engines. That night, Bren sat in his cabin, thinking. He looked at the data on his screen again. Mary hadn't taken control. She hadn't ordered anyone. She simply made everything better. He stood and walked to the hallway. As he passed the control room, he stopped. Mary was sitting in the captain's chair. The screens around her glowed softly. The ship's systems moved like waves around her fingers. The lights adjusted to her breathing. She wasn't controlling the ship. She was part of it. She turned and saw Bren. She stood up right away. "Sorry," she said. "I was just listening." "It's all right," Bren said. "What are you listening to?" She smiled gently. "The ship, it hums when it's happy." Bren didn't smile back. Not yet. He still had questions. But he nodded and walked away. In his heart, he knew something had changed. Mary had arrived like a lost girl in a floating pod. Now, in just 2 days, she had touched every system, every part of the ship, and every heart of the crew, and without trying. She was becoming the true voice of the Gray Lantern. 3 days had passed since Mary joined the crew of Gray Lantern. The ship had never run this smoothly. The systems worked better than before, the engine ran cooler, and the crew felt calmer. No one argued, even Darrow, who often got angry over small things, now whistled while working. But something new was happening. It wasn't just Mary fixing systems or suggesting better routes. The ship itself was responding to her in ways no one understood. Even the Gray Lantern's artificial intelligence, which usually followed only direct orders, now seemed to act on Mary's silent thoughts. Captain Bren kept a close eye on her. He wasn't angry. He wasn't afraid. But he was sure Mary was not just a lost girl in space. She was something more. One morning, while the crew ate breakfast, a warning light blinked on the main screen. A pirate ship had entered their path. It was moving fast, and its weapons were armed. Lena's hands flew over the console. "They're targeting us." No message. No signal. "They're coming in hot." Bren stood and gave quick orders. "Shields up. Darrow, prepare the side turrets. Lena, change our course away from them." Before anyone moved, Mary stood up from her seat. "Let me try," she said softly. Everyone paused. Bren raised his hand. "Mary, this is not a game. This ship can't outfight a full pirate vessel." She looked him in the eyes. "I can protect. U.S., please." Bren hesitated, then nodded slowly. "One chance, show me." Mary walked calmly to the control panel. She didn't touch anything. She only stood in front of the screen. The lights round the bridge turned blue. The ship's hum grew louder. Suddenly, the ship changed course on its own. The engines pushed harder without overheating. The Gray Lantern turned with sharp precision and moved around the pirate ship's path. The enemy fired a shot, but it missed by several meters. Then something strange happened. The ship's weapons, which were old and not very strong, fired on their own. Each shot hit the pirate ship's engines, not its weapons or life support. It was a perfect hit, just enough to stop them without killing anyone. The pirate ship stopped moving. Everyone in the bridge stared at Mary. Her eyes were glowing softly. The screen showed her face in the corner, as if the ship was listening only to her. The Gray Lantern had defended itself with perfect skill, but no one had pressed a button. Not even Mary. She turned to the crew. "It won't attack us now. I made sure of it." Bren looked at her carefully. "You didn't just help the ship. You became part of it." "How?" Mary lowered her head. "I didn't mean to hide anything. I was waiting for the right time." She touched the back of her neck. A faint light ran under her skin, showing small patterns like wires. "I'm not just a girl. I was made, or maybe born. It's hard to say. I was created by an old race. They call me a guardian." Darrow stepped forward. "Guardian of what?" "Of ships, of crews, of missions that matter." Mary's voice was calm but steady. "I was designed to link with a ship's system and protect everyone on board. My mind connects with machines, but I don't control them. I work with them, like a song with many voices." Bren sat down slowly. "In the cryopod? Why were you floating in space?" Mary looked down. "My last mission failed. The crew didn't trust me. They feared I would take over. They tried to shut me down and leave me behind. But the ship didn't let them. It saved me and sent me away. I don't remember everything. Only pieces. Lena looked confused. But you didn't take over. You helped us. Mary nodded. I can only bond with a ship if the crew accepts me. If the people trust me, then the ship listens fully. Darrow frowned. So you're the boss now? Mary shook her head. No, a guardian does not lead. She supports. She helps the captain and lifts the crew. Without your choices, I'm nothing. Bren stood up. You helped us against a pirate ship. That wasn't a small thing. You protected all of us without firing a single deadly shot. That says more than any report. Lena asked, so what now, Captain? Bren looked around. The crew was calm. No one was afraid. Everyone seemed ready to follow Mary if she asked, but she wasn't asking. He nodded. We accept her. Mary, you stay. You're a part of this crew now. You sit at my side. Not above me. Not below me. Mary's silver eyes glowed brighter for a second. Thank you, Captain. I will protect this ship with everything I am. That night, the crew celebrated quietly. They played music, shared stories, and laughed more than they had in weeks. Mary sat with them. She didn't eat much. She just listened and smiled. Bren leaned toward her. Do you feel like you belong now? She looked at him. I do. And I think this ship feels the same. Later, as everyone returned to their rooms, Mary stayed in the bridge. The stars outside blinked like soft lights. The gray lantern hummed gently, almost like it was breathing. Mary closed her eyes. Her mind touched every part of the ship, every cable, every engine, every bolt. The ship was alive in a way most people never saw, and for the first time in her long, quiet life, she didn't feel alone. The next morning began quietly aboard Gray Lantern. The stars outside were still. The ship moved smoothly through deep space. Everything felt calm. But something heavy was in the air. Captain Bren sat in his chair on the bridge, drinking warm tea. Mary stood near the center screen, her eyes focused on the blinking lights. She hadn't said much since the pirate attack. She had returned to her quiet self, only speaking when needed. Darrow entered, holding a tablet. Captain, we've got something. The old vault system in the ship opened last night. Bren raised his brow. That vault's been locked for years. No one had the code. Darrow nodded. I didn't open it. No one did. It just unlocked by itself. Or maybe not by itself. He looked at Mary. Mary looked at the floor. I asked the ship for it. You asked? Lena said from the side. I felt a signal hiding deep inside the ship's memory. Mary explained. It was calling me. I followed it. I didn't force anything. The ship wanted me to see it. Bren stood. All right, let's go look. The crew followed Mary and Bren down to the lower level. The vault was hidden behind a thick metal door, sealed since the ship had been built. Now the door stood open. Inside was a single chair and a black cube resting on a metal table. The cube glowed faintly. What is it? Bim asked. It's an archive core, Mary said. A message recorder. Very old. Much older than this ship. Can you open it? Bren asked. Mary stepped forward and placed her hand on the cube. It flashed once, then started playing a hologram in the air. A figure appeared, tall, with smooth skin and glowing blue eyes. Its voice was soft but serious. To the one who awakens the guardian, the voice said, This message is for you. The crew stayed silent. The voice continued, You have found Mary, the last of our guardian line. She was created to bond with human vessels. Only she can guide them through what is coming. But she cannot do it alone. What's coming? Darrow whispered. The voice answered as if it heard him. An ancient swarm is returning. Machines with no heart, no mind. They eat stars. They destroy everything. We could not stop them. We failed. But humans might succeed. The hologram changed. It showed black shapes moving across space. Swallowing light, ships tried to fight them but were torn apart. Then it showed Mary glowing at the center of a ship like Gray Lantern, leading it through the dark, helping it survive. Our guardians need trust, the voice said, not control. When human and guardian work as one, the impossible becomes Possible. The hologram ended. The cube dimmed and powered down. The room was quiet for a long time. Bren finally spoke. So, this is why she was in that pod. They sent her out to wait for someone who would trust her. Mary looked at him. I didn't know the full message. Only that I had a purpose. Now I understand it. Lena crossed her arms. Those machines. Are they real? Yes, Mary said. And they are waking up. I can feel their signal moving near the edge of space. Darrow muttered, Why us? We're just a cargo crew. Not heroes. Mary shook her head. That's why you're perfect. You're not looking for power. You care about each other. That's the kind of crew a Guardian needs. Bren looked at his crew. Their faces were filled with worry, but no one stepped back. No one said no. He nodded. Then we prepare. We don't run. Lena looked at the star map. The Galdor belt has a station. Old and broken. But it might have maps, weapons, or answers. Should we go there? Mary touched the panel. I can guide us. The station is not far. And I believe it's connected to the old race who made me. Set a course, Bren said. Everyone else, check supplies. Darrow, check the weapons. Bim, load food and water. If we're going to face something that eats stars, we need to be ready. The crew got to work. Mary stayed at the front, her hands lightly touching the control board. The ship's lights changed to deep blue as the engines turned toward the Galdor belt. During the flight, Mary and Bren sat in the quiet of the bridge. Do you still feel like a stranger here? Bren asked. Mary shook her head. No, I feel like I belong. For the first time in a long time. You saved us. You didn't ask for control. You earned our trust. Mary looked at him. Thank you for giving me a chance. Outside the window, the stars passed like soft rivers of light. But ahead, the space near the Galdor belt was darker, empty, silent, like something was waiting. Bren stood. We'll see what's hiding out there, and we'll face it, together. Mary smiled. Together. The ship moved forward, carrying more than cargo now. It carried a guardian, a message from the past, and a crew brave enough to trust both. The gray lantern moved into the Galdor belt, a wide area filled with broken rocks, old stations, and forgotten ships. Long ago, it had been busy with trade routes and travelers. Now, it was quiet. Like a graveyard of space. Captain Bren stood on the bridge beside Mary. The rest of the crew were at their stations, eyes on the screens. A large shape appeared in front of them, an old structure made of black metal, floating between shattered moons. That's the station, Mary said. It's called the Trial Core. Trial, Darrow repeated. That doesn't sound friendly. It's not a place of danger, Mary replied. It's a test. My makers used it to prepare crews. Only the right ones could unlock the final path. What kind of test? Lena asked. Mary looked at the screen. It changes for each crew. It watches, listens, and chooses the trials based on the team's heart, not just their skills. Bren gave a short nod. Let's dock. The ship moved closer. The trial core opened like a flower, letting them pass into a glowing tunnel. They landed in a round bay, and the doors closed behind them. As soon as they stepped off the ship, the lights around them turned gold. The air was calm but strange. There was no sound, no voices, only a deep feeling inside each of them as if someone was watching. A tall blue light appeared in front of them. It formed into a figure, not real but made of energy. Welcome to the trial of the stars, the voice said. Here, only the united may pass. You will face 3 trials. Mind, skill, unity. If you fail, the gate will remain closed. If you pass, the path to the signal gate will open. The light faded. Bren looked at his crew. Stay sharp. We do this together. The floor moved beneath their feet. It shifted and formed a new room with tall walls and a single table in the center. On the table were 7 glowing stones. Each had a symbol on it. This is the first trial, Mary said. A test of mind. A voice echoed around them. Match the stones to their true meaning. But no one may speak aloud. You must read each other. Not words. The crew looked at each other in surprise. No talking. Mary stepped forward and picked a stone with a wave symbol. She held it up, looked at Lena, and smiled. Lena nodded and took another stone with a ship on it. Slowly, without words, they passed stones to each other. Bim gave Bren one with a fire mark. Darrow chose one that looked like a gear. No one spoke, but they all began to understand. Their bond, their memories of time on the ship, helped them guess what each symbol meant. After a few minutes, the table flashed green. The stones glowed. "You have passed the trial of mind," the voice said. "You trust more than words." The room changed again. Walls shifted, lights moved, and the team found themselves in a narrow hall. Ahead was a long path full of moving walls, laser lines, and flying obstacles. "This is the trial of skill," Mary explained. "We must pass through without getting hit." Darrow grinned. "Now this is my kind of test." One by one, they moved forward. Darrow used his small tools to mark the patterns. Lena timed the lasers with her map display. Mary guided them using small changes in the floor and the lights. When Bim almost fell, Bren grabbed his arm and pulled him back. No one got angry. No one blamed anyone. They worked like one team. It took nearly half an hour, but they made it to the other side. No one was hurt. "You have passed the trial of skill," the voice said. "You move as one hand with many fingers." The last room was the largest. The walls were made of glass, showing stars outside. In the center was a glowing platform. "The final trial," Mary said, her voice quiet. "Unity." The voice spoke. "Again, only one may step forward, only one may speak. But all must agree. Choose your voice." The crew looked at one another. Darrow looked at Bren. "You're the captain." Bren looked at Mary. "But she's the one who brought us here." Lena stepped forward. "It doesn't have to be one or the other. Maybe we choose both." The platform glowed again. "You may choose two, but only if they stand as equals." Bren turned to Mary. "We do this together." Mary gave a small smile. "Yes, together." They both stepped onto the platform. Light wrapped around them. The room filled with sound, not words, but music, like a song of stars. The walls faded, and the voice returned. "You have passed the trial of unity. Your crew stands not as tools, but as one family." The light opened a path in the wall. A new map appeared on Lena's screen, showing the location of the signal gate. Bren looked at his crew. "We did it." Mary stepped down from the platform. "The real test is still ahead. But now, we have the way." As they returned to the ship, the trial course slowly closed behind them. The stars outside seemed brighter, clearer. Back aboard Gray Lantern, the crew felt stronger. Not because they had passed 3 trials, but because they had done it without losing who they were. They didn't have the strongest weapons. They didn't have the fastest ship. But they had something better: trust. And now, with the path to the signal gate open, they were ready to face the coming darkness together. The stars outside the Gray Lantern now seemed colder, quieter. The map unlocked from the trial core had brought them far beyond the usual trade routes. No ships, no signals, no traffic, only empty space and the soft hum of the engines. Captain Bren sat in the main seat on the bridge, reading the new map on the screen. Mary stood next to him, her fingers lightly touching the edge of the control panel. Her eyes were steady, but her body was tense. "We're close," she said. "The signal gate is just beyond the edge of this system." Darrow looked up from his seat. "What is the signal gate, really?" Mary replied, "It's not just a gate. It's the final shield built by the ones who made me. A large station with tools, weapons, and a signal that can stop the Star Eaters or at least hold them back." "And what if we don't activate it in time?" Lena asked. "Then the swarm will spread," Mary said. "And Earth and every human world will be in danger." The room went quiet. Bren stood up. "We didn't come this far to fail. We'll reach the gate, and we'll turn it on." "Not so easy," Mary said softly. "The gate won't listen to me alone. It was built to answer only to a full crew. Guardians were never meant to act alone. The gate will test us one last time." Bim stepped forward. "We've already passed the trial core. We'll pass this too." Mary looked at him with a small smile. "Yes, I believe that." The ship moved forward. Soon, they reached the edge of the system. a giant structure came into view. It floated in the dark like a sleeping giant. It was circular, with long arms reaching out like clock hands. At the center, a glowing core blinked slowly, as if breathing. The signal gate, Brent said. Lena zoomed in on the screen. No lights. No power. It looks quiet. It's waiting, Mary replied. And now it knows we're here. As the gray lantern got closer, one of the long arms turned slightly. A docking bay opened slowly, just big enough for their ship. This is it, said Darrow. Let's dock and see what it wants from us. The crew followed Mary into the main chamber of the signal gate. The walls were silver and smooth, blue. Lights floated through the air like dust. The floor pulsed with energy. They walked into a round room with a raised platform in the middle. Above the platform, a crystal shape floated, turning slowly. A voice filled the room, calm, deep. Guardian confirmed. Crew present. Begin connection. Light wrapped around the crew. Lines of glowing code appeared on their skin. Mary stepped into the center, and the crystal lowered toward her. I will guide the link, she said. But each of you must give the system permission, one by one. Each crew member placed a hand on the crystal. Brent went last. The system spoke again. Threat approaching. Swarm energy detected. Final defense must activate. Lena turned to the screen nearby. Captain, a signal just appeared. Large, fast, heading toward us. How long? Brent asked. 10 minutes. Mary spoke quickly. We need to complete the bond now. Once the system connects with all of us, it will unlock the signal field. That will push the swarm back. Let's do it, said Darrow. The crew stood in a circle around Mary. The room shook slightly as something massive came closer outside. The crystal above them glowed brighter. The walls changed into views of their memories. Brent's first flight. Lena's map training. Darrow fixing an old ship with his bare hands. Bim growing food during a supply shortage. Mary's voice echoed with the system. This is not just a crew. This is a story, a bond, a family. The lights grew stronger. The crystals sent waves of energy through their bodies. Not painful, warm, real, outside. The stars shifted. A black shape entered the system long, like a snake of metal. It had no windows, no engines, just hunger. The swarm had arrived, Lena shouted. 5 minutes. The crew stood strong. They did not run. They kept their hands on the platform as Mary raised both arms. Her body glowed fully now, and the ship answered. The gray lantern, still docked, came alive. Its lights turned golden. Its weapons unlocked without command. The signal gate's core pulsed. Mary's voice grew louder. Together now. Give me the key. Brent looked at her and nodded. It's yours. At once. The energy wrapped them all in a beam of light. The crystal turned into 1,000 pieces and flew into the walls. The entire gate lit up. Outside, beams of power shot out from the arms of the structure. The black swarm hit the first wave and stopped. It pulled back slightly, confused. Then another wave hit it, stronger, brighter. The swarm cracked. It had not expected unity. Inside the gate, Mary fell to her knees. Brent caught her. I'm fine, she whispered. The signal is working, but we have one chance. We must direct it. How? Asked Brent. Together, she said. We must command the gate as one voice. The crew gathered again, hands joined, minds focused. Send the signal, Mary whispered. Now, Brent ordered. A final pulse burst from the gate, straight into the heart of the swarm. Outside, the darkness tore apart. The metal snake shattered into dust. Silence returned. Inside, the lights slowly dimmed. The system spoke one last time. Final defense complete. System will sleep. Guardian and crew accepted. The crystal returned, now soft blue, and floated. Above Mary's hand, the crew stood in silence. They had done it. They had stopped the unstoppable. Not with fear, but with trust. After the final signal wave was sent from the signal gate, the crew of Gray Lanterns stood quietly inside the glowing chamber. The silence felt heavy, but not with fear this time. It was peace. The massive swarm that had once threatened entire systems had been destroyed. Their enemy was gone. Mary slowly opened her eyes. She was tired, but calm. She looked around at the faces of the people who had trusted her. These were not trained soldiers or chosen protectors. They were traitors, engineers, pilots, and yet they had done what even ancient guardians failed to finish. "We did it," Mary said softly. Bren helped her stand. "No, you did it. You led us here." She shook her head. "I only showed the way. You all walked it." Bim stepped forward. "So, what now? Are we going home?" Lena smiled. "I think we earned it." Mary turned toward the center of the room. The floating crystal was now dark, resting in a small socket. "The signal gate will stay asleep now. It has done its job." Darrow looked around. "Is it safe to leave it? What if another threat comes?" "It will wake again," Mary said. "But not for us. Maybe someday others will need it. Until then, the galaxy is safe." The crew walked back to the gray lantern. The docking tunnel retracted, and the ship pulled away from the sleeping gate. Outside, stars looked brighter. The space around them was still and silent. As they left the forgotten system, Bren asked, "Where do we go now?" Mary answered with a small smile, "Wherever we want." A few hours later, the ship passed into known space. The communication panel lit up with blinking messages. Lena checked the logs. "We've got dozens of messages," she said, "from Earth Command, Free Mars, and even the Deep Belt Council." Darrow raised an eyebrow. "What do they want?" "They want to know how a small civilian ship took down a swarm that destroyed fleets." Bren leaned back in his chair. "Let them wonder." "But what will we tell them?" Bim asked. Mary stepped into the center of the bridge. "Tell them the truth. A group of humans worked together. They listened, they learned, and they made the right choice." Bren nodded. "Simple and true." News of the victory spread fast. When the crew finally landed at a spaceport near Earth's orbit, crowds were waiting. Journalists, officers, even school children had come to see the heroes of the signal gate. They cheered as the crew walked down the ramp. But something strange happened. Instead of pushing forward, people stood back. They looked at Mary with a mix of respect and wonder. Some even bowed slightly. Mary looked uncomfortable. "Why are they looking at me like that?" "You're not just another alien anymore," Darrow said. "You're the one who saved us." "But I didn't do it alone," she replied. Lena laughed. "Try telling that to the galaxy." The crew was invited to speak before the Earth Council. The chamber was large and made of glass and silver. Leaders from different planets sat at long tables. Everyone waited as Bren and Mary stepped forward. And older council members stood up. "We welcome the crew of the Gray Lantern. We have questions, but first, we offer thanks." Everyone clapped. Bren cleared his throat. "We didn't go looking for trouble. We were just out there for a job. But the moment we met Mary, everything changed." Mary stepped forward. "I was part of something old, something dangerous. But this crew gave me a chance. They didn't see me as a tool or a threat. They treated me like a person." She looked around the room. "I served the system once. I obeyed rules. I followed commands. But when I met humans, I saw something better. You trust without reason. You fight with heart. And most of all, you forgive." The room was quiet. "I want to stay with them," Mary said. "Not as a leader, just as one of them." One of the younger council members smiled. "You already are." After the council meeting, the crew was offered medals and rewards. Bren refused most of it. "We don't need medals. Just give us fuel, food, and some quiet." Bim chuckled. "And maybe a hot shower." The Gray Lantern was repaired and upgraded. By engineers, people from different worlds sent gifts, letters, and thanks. Mary received messages from young students asking if she could teach them. She sat on the deck one night, reading a message from a girl named Tara who lived on Luna Station. The message read, "My teacher says you are part of the old world, but I think you belong to the new one. Will you come visit our school?" Mary smiled and wrote back, "Yes, one day I will." As days passed, the crew found their rhythm again. They accepted small jobs, helped fix satellites, and carried supplies. But something had changed. They were no longer just a crew, they were legends. Yet they didn't let it go to their heads. One morning, Bren walked onto the bridge and saw Mary sitting in the captain's chair. He raised an eyebrow. Comfortable, are we? She smiled playfully. You offered me a bite once. I took it. Now I run the kitchen. He laughed. Fair enough. The crew gathered again. Lena had a new map. Darrow had rebuilt the ship's engine core. Been brought fresh coffee. Mary handed out mission plans. Where to next? Bren asked. Mary looked at the stars. There's a system past the dust ring. No one's charted it yet. I think we should go. Bren grinned. Let's make history. The engines. Powered up. The gray lantern lifted into the stars once more. Together. As one crew. As one family.